All right, guys, so if you're gonna do this unanchored drop, first thing is you gotta make sure you've got a flat surface to be on. You're kind of at the will of the pack here, okay? It's a dangerous situation by itself, so make sure you have very good footing, all right? On an unanchored hip belay, if you can't find a very secure flat spot to do it from, what you wanna do is you wanna find like a little indention or get behind a big boulder where you can embed your feet, okay, in front of you, and you wanna align your feet with the direction of pull, right? So your gear or your cape or meat or whatever, where it's going off the mountain, you wanna align directly with it and get your feet embedded at an angle in front of you in rocks, okay? Rocks or whatever, something that's gonna be a very good brace for you and you can lean back against, and that's gonna be a lot more secure than a standing hip belay, all right? And so even if it is, even if it's very angled, like in a heavy scree field or something, you can get behind a, really solid set of rocks or get down a little indention and you can do this hip belay, okay? So that's a good variation of it to add an additional layer of safety. The standing hip belay, it's real convenient and quick, but it's gonna be the most dangerous way to drop gear, okay? So if you can vary it with getting down and getting your position like this, you're gonna be a lot safer. And the other thing is make sure that all your rope here is in loose coils and it's away from your feet. You might have to maneuver fairly quickly, and you don't want to be tangled up in your rope, okay? So a lot of people might recognize this as what's called a hip belay, okay? So you can use this actually for belaying people in the same kind of scenario where you're light on gear, all right? But you can do it for dropping gear also. So this is basically a guidance hand and this is your braking hand. The key with this is that you're gonna have varying amounts of tension as you drop gear. Like right now the pack's got a little friction on the hillside, so it's not like yanking on me. But if it drops off a rim, it might have significantly more weight on me. So what I want to do is I'm going to be leaning into the rope here, and the key factor here is you don't want to get your elbow trapped in here behind you, okay? Once you get trapped in here, you lose a lot of your braking power, right? Like if this thing gets wild on you real quick, it's going to be really hard for you to brake if your elbow is trapped in here. You always want your arm out here. So if it got really shitty, you can go like this, okay? And you can lean into it and kind of use that whole leverage. If you're stuck in here and it gets shitty, you don't have as much braking power, all right? So what you can do is make sure your arm's out here pretty solid. You can collapse your elbow just ever so slightly, but don't let it tuck in here. And when that's gonna happen is after you're halfway done, you're getting a little tired, you're gonna let that suck in. You want that out here, and then you're just gonna let the pack go, okay? Okay? And it's pretty simple to drop gear this way. And then if you got a guy at the end, in particular, he can help you. If it gets hung up on stuff, you can play the pack down to him like that. And then if let's say it drops off a cliff real quick, you can break it like that, okay? And use your weight, all right? So I want to show you guys just another angle of how to stop, how to put some stopping power on a hip belay when you're dropping gear. All right, so like I said, I keep my arms straight, okay? Or just a little minimal bend so I don't get captured back here. But what I do, and from the other angles, it's going to be hard for you to see, is I bring my arm across relatively straight, but if I need extra braking power, I'm going to go cross body with it, okay? Like almost bring my elbow between my pecs if I'm in this position, okay, and I can lean back into it, or if I happen to be standing, I'm anchored in standing or something, I'll bring it kind of across my belly button between there and my pecs, all right? But so I'm going to keep it straight plus cross body, all right? And that's going to give you the most braking power on a hip belay drop, okay? But you can see this is unsupported, so you got to be really careful and don't get yourself in a bad situation. All right, so another variation of this you guys can do, and you'll see this is like an old school way of rappelling, but you can run the rope through your crotch, okay? Cross your body over your shoulder, and now your braking arm, and here you're gonna wanna move your loops over here so they're out of the way. Now your braking arm's over here, okay? On this side. And what you're gonna find here is it just gives you a little more friction on the rope, okay? To me, you're a little less steady, but you got more stopping power, all right? So you get the pack down there, and be careful when you start it. Like, don't get tied in like this and then throw a 150-pound pack over a rim and expect it just to hit. That's a good way to die pretty quick, okay? So you want to always have weight on that. And like I said, if you got a partner down there that can hold a little tension, it's a whole lot safer because you can feel it as you go. But here it's pretty easy, right? You got a lot more friction on your body and you can drop gear easy. And it's pretty easy to stop, right? It's kind of the same idea though. You don't want to get your braking arm, this arm, you don't want to get it back here lackadaisical and lose it, okay? For some reason, all of a sudden the pressure mounts to more than what you've been used to, just for whatever obstacle it runs into. That can be problematic, all right? So you want it out here where you can stop something if you need to, okay? And you're gonna have to work, like there's gonna be flat spots, you know, and big drop-offs, so you're gonna have to work the gear down, all right? And here, like if you come to coils like this, don't keep dropping the gear. That can be a major issue. Okay, so you want to keep all that shit straight and let it down, okay? And then if you got to brake real hard, same deal. You can use this arm, okay? Lean into it. I'll show you guys something real quick. This rope has got knots tied in the end, and this is, if you're familiar with rappelling or whatever, these barrel knots are in here as stopper knots, but you can use them. It basically is the same function for this situation. You can get carried away, like you can think the rim down there where you want your gear to go, you think it's, you know, it's only 50, 60 feet, but it's actually 120. And if you get your gear down there, you can be feeding it down, and all of a sudden, without noticing, particularly, you know, now you're tired because you've been supporting the gear the whole time, what can happen is the rope can go right through your hand, just like shoop, and gone, and now you can't stop it, and your gear's gonna go wherever gravity takes it, okay? So that stopper knot that you see there is gonna let you know that you're at the end of your rope. So the obvious question a lot of you guys are gonna ask, you know, regarding this dropping gear via hip belay is, why would you do this unsupported, right? There's obviously some inherent risk in that, okay? Even when you're down and you've got your feet in front of you locked into rocks or whatever, there's still some inherent risk that something pulls you out of that belay, and now you're going down the same direction as your pack. So that's true, and that's just, you know, I mean, let's be honest, mountain hunting, particularly like the more extreme type of hunts, you know, tar hunting and mountain goat hunting, that sort of thing. I mean, it's just a reality. There's some risk, and that's for you to decide what's comfortable for you. But the reason that you might end up doing this is just because of gear limitations, okay? Particularly the length of rope. The other methods I show you where you're anchoring, and you know, even when I'll show you one method where you can have a nice anchored hip belay just with the rope. So in that situation, it takes a lot of rope to rig it up, okay? And then in the other situations where I'm setting up an actual solid anchor, it takes rope plus it takes other gear that you got to be hauling with you, okay? So these hip belay variations, the reason that you're going to do the ones that have a little more risk is it might be the case that you don't have enough rope, okay? So that's your main situation, okay? You're basically trading off being able to do it with risk, all right? And that's something you're going to have to deal with, but it's a part of mountain hunting, all right? If it's never going to be perfect. You're not gonna have a whole rack of gear and 200 meters of rope or something with you. That's not a reality. So I'm showing you guys some methods that are going to be based on pretty minimal gear. Okay, so that's why I've shown you these what are called unsupported, unanchored dropping of gear.